Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining the Bellwether District Q3 community meeting. We're just going to give it a few more minutes for other participants to join before we get started with our presentation this evening. Just a reminder for those who've joined that we will be recording the meeting. We will be posting our the recording of the meeting as well as the presentation and a written Q&A to all questions that are asked during the meeting on our website within 30 days. For those of you who join our meetings regularly, you may notice that I am a different person. My name is Amelia Chasse-Alcivar. I am EVP of Corporate Affairs for HRP Group. We're the developer of the Bellwether District. My colleague Mia Fioravanti, who usually leads these meetings, is just out on maternity leave after giving birth to a beautiful baby girl on September 5th. So I know we all wish Mia well. She'll be back soon, but I'm going to moderate this meeting. Very happy to be here and look forward to giving some updates about where we are with both our development and our workforce and community engagement. I'm going to go ahead and give it till 6:06 on my computer, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I see we've got a number of participants, but not as many as registered, so we want to give folks a chance to get the presentation from the beginning, but also want to be respectful of all of your time this evening. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, thanks everyone for your patience while we gave a few minutes for participants to join. I will repeat myself for some of you who've been here for a few minutes. Good evening. Welcome to our September community meeting here at the Bellwether District. My name is Amelia Chasse-Alcivar. I don't expect anyone to know how to spell that. I joke with my husband that I took one unpronounceable last name and traded it in for two, but I am EVP of Corporate Affairs for HRP Group. We're the developer of the Bellwether District. And filling in here for my colleague, Mia Fioravanti, who is on maternity leave right now, will be back with us soon. This as a reminder to everyone, this meeting is being recorded. We will post the recording of the meeting as well as the presentation slides and a written Q&A of all the questions that are asked during the meeting, and any questions that we don't have time to answer, we will post those with answers on our website, thebellwetherdistrict.com/community within 30 days of this meeting. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Go to the next slide. Go over the agenda quickly. Welcome and introductions. I think I sort of did that. We'll introduce our team members as they speak. We're going to have a number of members from our development team and our environmental remediation team present tonight, give you a general update on the state of the project. There's actually been a lot of work since we last gathered for one of these meetings, so we're really excited to fill you in on what's been going on the site. Those of you who drive by have probably seen some of it with your own eyes. And then I'll finish up with a community and workforce update, and we'll go into Q&A. As a reminder, you can raise your hand to ask a question, or you could put a question into the Q&A function on Zoom, and we will do our best to get to as many as possible. And again, any questions we don't get to, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and we will answer those in our written Q&A that we post on our website. Why don't we go to the next slide? Just a reminder, we like to kind of ground everything in a reminder of the benefits of this project. I'm not going to read every word on this slide, but I will just give a couple of highlights. We've committed $1 billion investment to get the Bellwether District through the first phase of development. The vast majority of those funds were invested in decommissioning, deconstructing, removing all the refinery infrastructure, which is now substantially complete. I think as you, again, anyone who's local has seen that there is no longer, there's 340 tanks are gone, 950 miles of above ground pipeline, and 200,000 tons of metal that have been recycled. All of those elements go into removing the refinery and the fossil fuel emissions that come with it. And another significant portion that is invested in environmental remediation and earthwork. We're projecting a $4 billion total investment over the life of the project, which is 10 to 15-year projected timeline. And that comes with significant revenue to the city and the Commonwealth. We have a robust community philanthropy program and workforce development program that includes scholarship commitment to Community College of Philadelphia, investment in local parks, and significant job creation, as well as workforce development programs. We also are looking to reintegrate and reconnect the historically closed off site by adding 8 miles of new streets, improving offsite intersections, and bringing in bike and pedestrian infrastructure, as well as significant green space, bioswales, tree plantings, and other important green infrastructure to reduce the urban heat island effect and contribute to additional CO2 absorption in South and Southwest Philly. We're also building as sustainably as possible with LEED certified buildings, electric vehicle facilities, solar ready constructions, and resiliency improvements to remove the site from the 100-year, 500-year floodplain. And as I mentioned earlier, the refinery produced about 3 million metric tons of CO2 per year. It was the largest polluter in Philadelphia, responsible for about 16% of the city's emissions, according to the City Office of Sustainability. And by removing the refinery infrastructure, we have made a significant impact in improving air quality and the environment in citywide, but certainly in South and Southwest. Go to the next slide. This is an overview of the phase 1 schedule for the project, which is underway right now. At the top of the light purple bar, you see the demolition. And as I noted earlier, we completed the above ground demolition earlier this year. Environmental remediation is ongoing. It will be for a significant length of time, and we will get to some more details there on our progress later in the presentation. Industrial development on the logistics campus began in fall of 2023. With the earthwork, we started vertical construction toward the end of last year. And as again, anyone who's by the site right now, and we'll show some pictures later for those who haven't seen it, building 1 is significantly far along and will be complete by the end of this year. And then looking at the second building, which that is the first phase of industrial, 2 buildings being completed mid next year. The innovation campus to the north of Passyunk, the earthwork is ongoing. It started at the beginning of this year, and we're looking at beginning vertical construction on the first 3 buildings. We'll walk you through what those look like in Q4 of 2025. And then community engagement, we're right here doing it now. Quarterly public meetings will always be ongoing. And we also have some updates later in the presentation on some upcoming in-person engagement opportunities, including our community resource fair next week, which we hope that everyone and all of your friends and family will attend. Next slide. Quick overview of the project goals. Again, we try to bring this up in each of these meetings, so many of you have seen this before, but it is really important to ground us in what we're trying to do here, because we understand the generational impact of this development. It's 1,300 acres in one of America's great cities, and we take that responsibility very seriously. So number 1, we want to reintegrate the site by creating new connections to the existing city street network, creating new internal streets that are complete streets with bicycle and pedestrian pathways. Facilitating that multimodal access, providing new transit access to and from the site, something we very actively engage with SEPTA and the city about, and providing offsite transportation improvements, including safety improvements to the intersections and roadways that will be impacted by the development activity. And we work in close concert with both the state, PennDOT, the city, because we have both state and city routes surrounding our project, as well as with other local stakeholders in the Lower South. Number 2 is create green pathways. Sustainable redevelopment of former industrial sites is what our company does. And we understand that we not only need to bring these sites back into commerce, but also, in many cases, these are areas where there is very minimal green infrastructure, and we need to increase that. So we're projecting 10,000 new trees and plantings across the site that will create a enhanced urban tree canopy. South and Southwest is some of the lowest tree coverage rates in the city, so we're very conscious of that. And we also are working on some off-site tree planting initiatives. providing, as I said, buffered sidewalks, landscaping, working with landscape architects to both, create that green infrastructure, but also provide those pathways for bikes and pedestrians and on-site stormwater infrastructure. And then finally, create a sustainable district. Again, building sustainably, removing the refinery was important to get to the place where we can now start to build, but then also building sustainably and doing the significant investment in earthwork to improve the resiliency of the site to future-proof as we look at rising sea levels. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Blake Rowan, to take us. Oh, excuse me. I'm actually going to do this slide. I'm sorry, guys. I don't usually moderate this meeting. Master plan framework. This is my last slide for this portion. This picture is just, interesting for those of you who've seen the site for years, where you can see that you can see kind of the circles where the tanks were, but they've all been removed. This is an overview of our master plan. We do want to always present this at every meeting so everyone knows what we're planning to build. This is also available on our website. If you see, so in the north, we're planning an innovation campus, 250 acres, and that's looking at, technology, life sciences, innovation industry users. 3 to 4 million projected square feet, more of a campus-like feel, as you can see, with smaller building footprints. And that is based on our third-party economic impact study, projected to create about 8,500 jobs. Then to the south of Passyunk, we have the logistics campus, larger parcel, 750 acres, projected about 10.5 million square feet, and commensurately large number of jobs, 10,500. Go to the next slide. Now it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Blake Rowan, who will walk us through the latest with the logistics campus.
Thank you, Amelia. I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. It's been quite the quarter since we spoke last. We've made a ton of progress on the logistics campus and really throughout our site in total. So the image to the right is our logistics campus that Amelia just went through. Within the red outline is really what we're focusing our mass earthwork operations in our first phase of industrial vertical development. What's shown in blue is what we're currently permitted today to move earth on. That represents about 447 acres out of the 750 acres on our site. We're going to go through some interesting statistics here in the next slide, but the one thing that I wanted to touch here is that in the northeast portion that really is geared to where our first building is, and then subsequently our second building, we've completed mass earthwork. So that is, turned over for future development. And by the end of this year, everything that you see in blue will be substantially complete, and we'll be ready to get started on our second phase of mass earthwork, which we're currently undergoing the permit process in the light tan shaded areas. We're eager to get started on that and hope to get completed with mass earthwork in those areas by the end of next year. To go to the next slide. So some of these statistics that I mentioned, just a tremendous amount of demolition occurred underground prior to our ability to start mass earthwork. We've removed to date approximately 83 miles of subsurface utilities that was existing, utilities that ran from the refinery units and really just provided the water and sanitary service throughout the site. We've removed 32 miles of existing utility pipe as well. So just incredible volumes there. From an earthwork perspective, we've moved about 1.7 million cubic yards of material, which is just an incredible amount this year. And we're really getting close to about that halfway point on the industrial site that I mentioned. So, just tremendous progress. From a stormwater perspective, we now have the ability to hold about 45 million gallons of stormwater throughout our new sediment basins that we, work through a pretty lengthy process with PADEP and PWD, and that water is managed on site locally, and then we treat it through a temporary treatment plant, and then that's discharged to the Schuylkill River following. in accordance with the temporary discharge agreement that we have with PayDebt. From an underground demolition perspective, we took the existing utilities that were there and we, similar to the recycling activities that we did on the above grade demolition, we took that same methodology with all the underground piping, and we've to date removed over 6,500 tons, which is really attributed to some of the 83 miles of utility demolition that we've done. And then, as you see in this picture here, a lot of concrete debris was discovered as we worked through the underground demolition. All of that concrete has been, as we remove it, we relocate it to a crushing operation. And through the end of August, we've accumulated over 71,000 tons of crushed concrete that we intend to reuse for the new vertical development. If you go to the next slide, there's some good aerials of the progress that we've made. In the outline that you see, that's if you were looking at the master plan or lot 14, that's a large, over 1 million square foot warehouse that the site work is actively going on today. And again, hopefully will be complete by the end of this year. As you see the outline of the new roadway, that is our South Francis Harper Drive. We have not started the actual infrastructure work on that yet, but we have completed a significant amount of earthwork there. If you go to the next slide, this is the vantage point of our Gerard Point area of the refinery. That is the Platte Bridge that you see there. As you can tell, just a significant amount of earthwork that has been placed, and we're starting to take shape those new building pads for the future development. If you go to the next slide. So our infrastructure is another big piece of our project that we've made a lot of progress on over the last quarter. On the red is what you see our new internal infrastructure. So that'll be the new roadway and utilities that'll service the first handful of buildings on the logistics campus. And then on the blue is our new offsite infrastructure project that we have going on, which is on 26th Street. So I'm sure if you've been driving down 26th Street, you've seen a whole lot of new construction progress that has been made. And we're hopeful by the first quarter of next year that'll be wrapped up. Just a ton of progress. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see some aerial photos. This is our North Francis Harper Drive. To the right, the image is our Unit 2 building. That's we'll talk about here shortly. But as you see, we're working on some underground utilities, getting those placed. The limits of the two white lines that you see, that'll be the approximate area where the Francis Harper Drive will be placed. And we hope to have that generally substantially complete by the end of this year as we work on finalizing the offsite infrastructure. If you go to the next slide. This is a really cool rendering that I think we've shown in the past, but I think it's great to always, look back. The intersection that we're doing at 26th Street, this is what we hope to see in the next handful of years. Obviously today, a lot less trees, but we are, committed, as Amelia said, to plant, over 10,000 trees on the site. And we really think that, in the next 5 to 7 years, this is what we, hope to see as we look from Hartranft into our site. So just, really transformational. Here, the next slide. So our first building has made great progress. We've talked about it in the past, but that's a 326,000 square foot cross-dock logistics building. It's currently being constructed by Clayco and Perryman Construction. We are, full steam ahead. We hope to be substantially complete by the end of this year. And we hope to really bring some exciting news in the, in the near term of potential tenants to take this building. As I think everyone's aware, we've built this on a speculative basis. So that means without a tenant, but we think we have a Class A product here that's available, come the first of the year. If you go to the next slide. Here's some progress photos of inside the building. And believe it or not, just the speed of construction, these are really outdated. We've poured about 250,000 square feet of building slabs. So it looks, different today than it does in these pictures. But as you can see, just a shell warehouse, very large scale. It'll come fully lit. Over 93 dock positions, full dock overhead door package. So really exciting. If you go to the next, there's a handful of other pictures. I believe this is just some progress on our electrical room that we're providing, what we think is above market. The base building will have about 4,000 amp service, but it's expandable to over 12,000 amps. So just really great for a handful of different tenants and different operations. And then just a quick picture progress shot of one of our speed bay areas, getting the slab poured there and finished. If you go to the next slide. So our vertical progress on Unit 2, we are fully permitted, and we were as of our last public meeting, or we're getting very close. We are nearing the finish line on our construction loan financing, and we're very eager to get started on that building. That's a 727,000 square foot building, which is well over 2 times the size of the first building. It's set up to be a dual tenant type, so there's going to be an entrance on the north and the south end of the building, which we think will attract potentially more than one tenant to the building to take use of this. Once we get started, we'll be moving full steam ahead, similar to the first, and we hope to have that completed by the third quarter of next year. So really excited, to get started with that one and bring the first phase of vertical development to life on the logistics campus. And then I think the next slide is innovation. So I'm going to pass it over to Dave Messerschmidt. Thank you.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Dave Messerschmidt on the mixed use team for the Bellwether District. Kind of overseeing the day-to-day operations associated with the mass grading of the innovation campus, which is the 250 acres north of Passyunk Avenue on our site. It's then further subdivided between parcel A, which is north of the Ray CSX rail, which anybody traveling east on 76 towards the stadium complex and stuff has no doubt seen, and parcel B, which is south of that CSX rail, but north of Passyunk Avenue. First phase of vertical development is outlined in this slide here, and it abuts up to Bear Avenue, which runs in between our site and 76. So if you want to go to the next slide. This is a close-up of that first phase of vertical development. So we have 3 speculative CGMP type buildings, which are commercial good manufacturing practice buildings, slated for development within about 40 acres of space, with a road network consisting of Fortin Way and Jackson Street, as well as service drives to get to docks on each of the buildings. Earthwork progress thus far. So we did start subsurface demolition in March of this year, and we are rapidly approaching completion on that. Mass grading began in May of this year on parcel A as well. And again, we are rapidly approaching completion of that. Hope to be done that within the next 6 to 8 weeks. Aerial here with some of the line work associated with the road network and the first 2 buildings, building A and building B. Building A along Maiden Lane on the northeast corner of the parcel there, and then you can see Bear Avenue and then 76 in the background, and then further in the background, obviously Center City. So tremendous progress from what it used to look like. You can kind of see the surcharge pile here, which is a ground improvement method that's currently slated for building A and B. It effectively mimics the weight of the loading of the future building to prepare the deep soils for that loading when we do go to start vertical construction. So we hope to have approval from the geotechnical engineer to remove that surcharge pile in the near term. And then once we get ready to start vertical development, we'll start removing that soil in accordance with that need. The next slide. This shows kind of the northwest corner of parcel A, which Maiden Lane is up there and intersects with 34th Street, which then goes up to University City. You can see a stormwater basin kind of in the distant background there that captures all surface runoff and then conveys the water down to existing assets that treat the water before discharge to the river. Some of the milestones that we've hit so far, we've removed approximately 160,000 linear feet of underground pipe. Out of that, approximately 90,000 linear feet was unknown refinery pipe. We've moved around 250,000 cubic yards of soils on site. Stormwater volumes, we have about 1.7 million gallons of newer in progress construction stormwater capacity being constructed to control the stormwater as it's introduced to the surface. As far as scrapping goes, we've recycled over 2,100 tons of metal piping thus far. And concrete crushing, we've demolished around 30,000 tons of concrete, and we're working to set up the future crushing and reuse of that material on site. Just some photos here and some bullet points on our dust and odor suppression as we kind of progress the mass grading program here. We have dust control fabric installed on the perimeter fencing. Perimeter air monitoring is ongoing with monthly reports being distributed via our website. Water trucks are traversing the site daily to distribute water on haul routes to suppress the dust. We have various odor suppression methods available that are used to suppress and minimize odors as needed when they are encountered during the soil movement. And then, a note here about our phone line and online contact form to report on-site activity concerns available at the location noted. With that, I'll turn it over to Amy Picone.
Thanks, Dave. Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Picone, Senior Remediation Manager here in Philly. Next slide, please. So we always like to start our environmental updates with a reminder that there are two responsible parties at this site when it comes to environmental sampling and cleanup. Sunoco, also known as Evergreen, is responsible for contamination from releases that occurred prior to September 2012, which is when they sold the site to PES. Evergreen is doing the remediation work under the PA1 cleanup program, which covers state regulations such as Act 2 and federal regulations. We, HRP, are responsible for releases that occurred after September 2012. Some of you may find that date a little strange as we acquired this property in 2020, but we took on PES's environmental responsibilities as part of that deal, so that is why the 2012 date applies to us. After demolition, we and Evergreen were able to sample in areas which were previously inaccessible. Evergreen was responsible for sampling beneath the refinery process units, and we were responsible for sampling beneath the above ground storage tanks. We are also responsible for the management of soil in accordance with our 2020 soil management plan, which I'll get to in a few slides. And we're responsible for vapor intrusion assessments in new buildings on our site. As Blake mentioned, our first building is under construction, so I won't get into the vapor intrusion details in this meeting, but we will likely cover that in our next quarterly meeting. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, HRP has 8 distinct release areas that have been entered into the Act 2 program. HRP does not have one site-wide case. Reports and regulatory correspondence for these 8 cases are available on our website. Next slide, please. We'll go into a little more detail. So the first 4 in this chart here occurred during PES's operations, but as I said in the beginning, we're responsible for these cases since they occurred after September 2012, and we are currently working through them. The next 3 releases occurred during the demolition process. They're shaded green because they have achieved regulatory closure. And the final case here occurred during earthwork, specifically during the removal of a subsurface pipe. The impacted soil was excavated. We're wrapping up our reporting, and we plan to submit that report in the near future. Next slide, please. So moving on to above ground storage tanks, or ASDs, there were well over 100 tanks that we needed to sample. So we divided them into 9 tank groups, you can see here, for sampling and reporting purposes. So far, we have regulatory closure on tank group 5, which is the greenish colored tank group in the middle of the site on this figure. And we have completed sampling in the other 10 groups and are currently working through data analysis and reporting. Next slide, please. We have a soil management plan, which was approved by PADEP in 2020 and is available on our website. Some of you may be familiar with this. We've talked about it at other meetings, but that document outlines our plan to collect 1 sample per 2,000 cubic yards of soil that was planned to be moved within our site. We then categorized a given cell based on that analytical data and then handle that soil appropriately during earthwork. For example, the most contaminated soil is placed under impervious cover, such as the building pad or parking lot. The majority of the soil sampling is done, and the data are summarized in soil management plan addenda, which are on our website. Currently, we have an environmental consulting company overseeing the earthwork to make sure the cells are placed in accordance with our soil management plan. Next slide, please. Finally, I'll elaborate a little more on the air monitoring that Dave mentioned. So we currently monitor for particulate matter, which is also known as dust, and we monitor for volatile organic compounds, which includes chemicals you would find in petroleum products such as benzene, xylene, toluene, etc. We monitor continuously and receive alerts when concentrations are elevated, so we can take action in real time. We started this monitoring when earthwork began in each portion of the site. So as you can see on the slide, that was May 2023 in the industrial or logistics campus, which are those blue dots, and in April 2024 in the innovation campus, which are the green dots. Our air monitoring plan and our monthly reports summarizing the data are available on our website, as Dave mentioned. I'd also like to mention that we are collecting 1 weekly benzene sample, which is that red dot, as part of the Thrive Air Community Air Monitoring Project. Apologies, there's a typo on my slide. I wrote program, that should be project. Thrive Air is a partnership between Drexel University and Philly Thrive. We started this sampling in February. We send the weekly analytical reports to our contacts at Thrive Air, and they maintain a website displaying the data from this red dot, as well as other locations in the community. If you are interested, I encourage you to check out their website, thriveairphilly.com. Again, that benzene data is not on the Bellwether District website, but is on the Thrive Air website. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Amelia.
Thanks, Amy. All right, to round everything out before we open it up for questions, and just a reminder that you can either raise your hand and we'll call on you, or you can post a question in the Q&A feature, and we'll get to as many as you possibly can. Community and workforce update. So you guys remember how Blake showed you the inside, some of the progress shots, the inside of our current first building. This is one of the photos that I get excited about, which is showing that building full of people, in this case, full of young women learning about opportunities in the building trades and getting some mentorship from one of our awesome minority women contractors, Girl Concrete. You can see she's like right in the front middle there. This was during our Women in Non-Traditional Careers MyWIC, or no, there's 2 programs, Women in Non-Traditional Careers, and there's MyWIC, which is My Women in Construction. They're both great groups. Both of them visited. I believe this is WINC. Next slide, please. Great. These slides are like a little sticky for me. I hope others are seeing them more quickly. Okay, as mentioned earlier, the Bellwether District, this is based on third-party economic impact studies performed by eConsult Solutions, which is a well-known Philly firm that does a lot of work for the city and Commonwealth as well. Our development plan is projected to add over 19,000 permanent jobs, meaning the jobs created by our future tenants that will be locating on the site. And those jobs span many industries, and then 28,000 construction jobs over the next 10 to 15 years. We've employed over 2,000 workers on the site to date. That's including the demolition of the refinery infrastructure, the subgrade demolition that continues to be ongoing, the earthwork, and now, excitingly recently, vertical construction, as well as some of these specialty occupations on the site, including environmental and others. We are focused on building a more equitable workforce. We believe this project is an opportunity to uplift all of Philadelphia, but especially South and Southwest Philadelphia. So you'll hear us say a few times that a lot of our programming, both on the workforce and community side, are really targeted towards the zip codes that surround the fence line of the site in South and Southwest. We have committed about $1.2 million dollars to date in workforce development investments and commitments. And some of our key partnerships are our Career Connected Learning Program, which is partnership with the school district and Department of Commerce. That includes providing both internships and ongoing career awareness and educational opportunities for school district students. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. We are a founding member of Everybody Builds, which is a coalition of trades, developers, contractors, and anchor institutions in Philadelphia, all working together to share data, share best practices, and provide workforce diversification and capacity building for minority and disadvantaged businesses. Build Latino is our partnership with the Greater Philadelphia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. That's also focused on capacity building for specifically Latino-owned businesses to ensure that they're able to take opportunities on our site. We are sponsors of the Carpenter's Apprentice Ready Program, or CARP. Clayco Rising. Clayco is our general contractor, along with Perryman Construction, local minority-owned firm, for our first building, and Clayco Rising is their diversity program. And then we are also we also on our site have on a daily basis individuals from the Center for Employment Opportunities, which is a reentry program where returning citizens have the ability to gain workforce experience. And we've had a number of individuals who come through that program achieve permanent employment through that transitional program. So it's been a great success so far. It's a great collaboration. And then, as I mentioned earlier, when I was chatting about the photo, we have two women construction-focused organizations that we partner with. One is Women in Non-Traditional Careers, or WINC, and then one is NAWIC, which is the National Association of Women in Construction's MyWIC program, which is targeted at younger women and getting them interested and excited about these career opportunities. And then we're also currently working to formalize a partnership with the Sam Staten Senior Pre-Apprenticeship Program. One thing I'll note that's not on this slide is, we're focused today on the jobs that are being created in the near term on our site, which are largely in the construction, building trades, and ancillary industries. I do want to, assure the community that we are also thinking longer term. And I look forward at future meetings to sharing some of our planning and thought process, and also getting your input around how we can ensure that we're investing in programs to allow local Philadelphia and South and Southwest residents to take advantage of the permanent jobs being created on the site, get skills training, connection to any type of resources that are needed to take advantage of those opportunities. So just to let you know, we are thinking ahead, and that is, the next kind of frontier of our workforce development programming. Go to the next slide. Wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive in career connected learning in this meeting, because we just finished our largest summer internship program to date, our first year of having 50, that's 50, interns. When you think about the fact that our local team is about 25 people, it just, that number gets big. We, as mentioned, this is a partnership with the school district and the Department of Commerce. So it's specifically for school district of Philadelphia students. And we also open it to other local schools like Auden Reed Charter School. We have employed over 120 interns to date, and we had, as I mentioned, 50 this summer. We also this spring did our first middle school spring break internship, so providing middle school students with the opportunity to get a little taste of what it's like. So hopefully they can join us when they're in high school. These are paid internship opportunities, and food is provided. So we do make sure that students are able to really spend their time with us valuably and be compensated for their time. We also held over in the pictures that you see here are summer interns that were embedded with our team this year. So the way it works is we have a number of interns with our team. We also place interns, and we try to do it based on their interests, to the extent, high school kids have strong interests, with our contractor partners and other vendors on the site. So there's a variety of different work experiences that students can experience. They do all share some common programming around meeting our executive team, doing financial literacy workshops. And so everyone gets to take advantage of those resources too. Moving on to other career connected learning activities, we've held about 25 career awareness activities to date. We partner in school district events, including NOCD, Perkins Stakeholder Advisory Board, and other school-based events. And we've got one that I'll show on the next screen. We have made a 10-year commitment to providing scholarships for students specifically living in the zip codes around the project site to Community College of Philadelphia. Those scholarships are available annually, so please watch our social media. We always mention it at meetings when that scholarship is up for applications. Encourage, we want to spread the word and make sure as many students are taking advantage of that as possible. And working with our partners at the school district, we estimated that over 1,300 students have engaged in some way in our career awareness programming to date. I think we talked about everything here, so I'll move on to, I think, the final slide. Yes, upcoming community and workforce events. Please screenshot this. This is all over our social media. It should be, I think it's on the website somewhere, but it's all over our social. And if you're on our email list, we're blasting out probably too much for your liking information about these events. We have 3 upcoming events I want to make everyone aware of. Number 1, our community resource fair. It is next Thursday. It's like just a week away on our site at the Bellwether District, 5 to 7 p.m. This is free and open to the public. We'll have our team, some of our team here tonight, plus some additional members of our team will be tabling and talking about different elements of the project. So if you want that live in-person engagement, it's a great opportunity. We also are providing site tours. We'll have buses circulating the site with narration from our team, so you'll be able to take a look for yourself at what's going on. And then to try to make it worth your while, we will have food trucks, we will have a DJ, stuff for the kids. There will be vendors, social services providers, local elected officials, I think are having tables with their resources. And we are providing shuttle transportation from 2 different destinations, one in South and Southwest and one in South Philly. So please join us, please spread the word, there's a QR code there to register. It's easier to register online because then you don't experience a backlog. As you know, you got to sign waivers to come on these types of sites. So encourage you to do the Eventbrite registration, but you also can come and we'll get you taken care of upon entering. The second event that I want to make everyone aware of, and hopefully again you'll help us spread the word, is called Build My Future. It's an event that we're hosting October 1st and 2nd. This is part of our career connected learning. We're hosting this with the school district and our partners at Clayco and Perryman. And this is for specifically middle school on October 1st and high school on October 2nd. Students can come. It's a half-day program at the 23rd Street Armory where they can learn all about different careers in construction. We have a bunch of great partners that'll be demonstrating. It'll be very hands-on, so it should be, fun. And this is not open to the general public, to be clear. It is for students. But if you are a parent of a student, if you are a student, if you know a student who is in middle or high school in Philadelphia, please feel free to send this to them. There's contact information there if someone wants to know more about the event or how to get involved. It's right there on the flyer. So again, encourage you to spread the word. We're hoping to have several hundred students participate in this event. And finally, I'll mention our next community meeting is November 12th. It's same time, same day of the week, November 12th. So hope that, again, we'll spread the word. We'll be sending out emails as we always do ahead of time, but hope you can join us then as well. And we'll have some more progress to share on the site. And I think that is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for listening. This is my information here. Feel free to reach out to me anytime, certainly in Mia's absence if you're used to reaching out to her. Christina Delbert-Phillips from our team is also on site every day in Philly and available as part of our corporate affairs lead. So we're here for you guys. Use the contact form on the site if you ever need to get in touch with us. That also goes directly to our inboxes. I promise it doesn't go to a black hole. And that is just thebellwetherdistrict.com/contact. And that's where you can also find the information Dave mentioned earlier for any on-site activities that you need to share with us. With that, I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm trying to see, I don't see any in the chat, but please feel, or not the chat, the Q&A function, but please feel free to raise your hand or type in a question and we'll get to as many as possible. Okay, great. We've got one from Jacqueline Zielinski. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm going to read this out. Jacqueline is a sales manager at Embassy Suites, Philadelphia Airport. Oh, great. One of our neighbors. My question is about hotel accommodations. Do we have a need for any? We're right down the street from the project, and if it's needed, I'd love to talk to someone about a partnership. Jacqueline, thanks very much for reaching out. If you would, you know what you could do? If you could either use our contact form, which is thebellwetherdistrict.com/contact, or you could also put your email address in the Q&A. It's not something everyone can see, so it's not like you're sharing it with the world. I can shoot you an email, and we're happy to have that conversation. And maybe I'll just use that to say a couple of additional things, because we do often have people in and out of town. We use the airport very frequently. You know, one of the stories that are some of our leaders of the company who were responsible for the acquisition of the property always tell is, you know, the refinery used to kind of be the gateway to Philly, right? For people coming in through the airport, at least. And they, and, you know, the fact that that's no longer there really, you know, puts a much better welcome to Philly, right? A much better entryway to the city. And, you know, it's only going to get better from there once all those trees are planted and, you know, the roads are improved. So we're privileged to be a part of that. One other thing I wanted to mention for Jacqueline's question kind of prompted this is we do have a special option on that contact form, again, the bellwetherdistrict.com/contact, where if you are a business locally, especially who wants to work with us, if you know of a business that you'd refer, and that's, you know, we employ everything from obviously the construction contractors, and construction related businesses to, you know, we employ photographers, we employ DJs, food trucks, anything that you can think of from, you know, a kind of production standpoint. We employ graphic designers. So if you know, or you are a owner of a local business and you want to get entered into our database for opportunities, there is, again, if you fill out that form, there's an option that says work with us at the Bellwether District. If you fill out that information, that goes to our team. It also goes to, we've got a team that we have working on our economic opportunity plan to try to provide equitable opportunities to local minority women-owned businesses. So it goes straight to that team as well. So please encourage anyone who either owns or knows someone who owns a local business to make sure that you're in touch with us. Next question in the chat here is, how many people joined this meeting? Okay, right now we have 31 people. We've had a total of about 50. And I will say that's actually a little bit of a low turnout for one of these meetings. We usually get closer to 100. So it's, you know, I don't know if it's like everyone's just kind of getting back in the swing of things in September, but a typical meeting for us is closer to 100. So we got a little bit of a late turnout tonight. All right. That's what we have for now in the Q&A. Are there any other questions? Don't be shy. I'm gonna give it one more minute or so, just in case anyone thinks of a question. If you don't already and you're interested, please do consider following us on social media. All of our little handles and all the different accounts are there. I kind of only use Instagram myself, but I think we do a pretty good Instagram. And then also we do on our website have and sign up for our email alerts. We really try not to abuse the privilege. We do try to send things out judiciously and make sure that they're valuable updates. So it's not a bunch of marketing material, I promise. But we do send out information about these community events and opportunities on the site. So, and we definitely will use that function in the future for, you know, potential job postings, things of that nature. We are starting one partnership I'm excited about on the workforce side, is we're starting to advertise regularly and provide project updates in the South Philly Review and the Southwest Globe Times. And we plan in the future to use that to make sure local Philadelphians are aware of opportunities on the site. Another question is, parking at next week's event, is there parking or do we have to take the shuttle? Good question. Thank you for asking that. The shuttle is definitely encouraged because there's limited parking, but there is some parking available. I want to say we can probably park about 30 to 40 vehicles max along the site. There's some limited parking in a lot, and then there's also parking along the frontage road that's alongside Passyunk. So the answer is yes, there is parking. If you want to be sure that you're not going to be kind of stuck looking for parking, I definitely encourage taking the shuttle. All right, I'm just verifying that we don't have any other questions waiting. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining tonight. We look forward to doing one of these again on November 12th. And then again, please encourage anyone who is interested to come meet us in person and join us for the Community Resource Fair next Thursday, September 26th. We're not in October yet. September 26th on our site at the Bellwether District. And we'll continue to be promoting that event. So please, again, look at it and share with your friends and family. Thank you very much for your time this evening and have a great evening.